we just space race, and I guess we just space race and try to end.
Okay. We try to stall them.
That was start. No, Jace can't end by
There's no
himself.
one here, no one here, no one here.
I can start really easy. Just don't die. Jace can't end, Jace can't end.
No, they won't end.
No, they're
They're
trying to end.
I killed Ziggs, 1 HP, Ziggs 1 HP.
Yep. I'm looking for Israel.
I kick Ezra away. Let's kill Ziggs.
Nice. Oh my god.
Okay, honestly, really clean comms, in my opinion, for what was an incredibly hype and intense moment there at the end.
I mean, I think it was the Gil Hoto interview as well, where he's talking about, like, you know, people don't practice those situations.
You can't, right?
It's a lot of instinct, and, like, that's what you can kind of hear there, where people are just like, oh, well, I think Jace can end it by himself. So, you know, like, it's not, like, super planned out. But to your point, no one's, like, just screaming their head off.
Right. There were some no's, there were some yeses, there was some indecision, but ultimately, like, to me, the things that jumped out the most was, like, Power of Evil identifying that Ziggs needs to be the one to die, right? That's the person who has the most pressure on the opposing side, and deciding to not be offensive alongside the Jace and having to back in order to make that happen.
Exactly, because they're just moving far too quickly. We didn't show the image of just Ziggs destroying the top tier, second tier tower. And it wasn't even just the satchel. That was just overkill because the passive was just
passive auto attacks.
Yep, it was a bit much.
Those are crushing. Well, either way, we'll see a bit more of that TSM spice later on as they take on Dignitas, but also on Sunday when they take on Cloud9. A couple of big matchups for them this weekend. But after snatching victory out of the jaws of defeat right there, they're definitely riding a high when they come into this matchup here against Dignitas QNTMPAY, who, of all teams, made a very surprising announcement just last night. Raz, Dardoch is out.
Yep. I remember when they made the announcement that, you know, not only are they bringing back Aframu and Dardoch, these are the team leaders.
Right.
These are the guys we're building this team around. And they came in with a damn good split, too. What happened?
What happened, Mark?
What happened?
I couldn't tell you from the outside, but I can maybe speculate a little bit.
We love speculation.
All right,
Get in there.
I'll give you a little bit of speculation. On nearly every team Dardoch's been a part of, there has been a period like this. There's been one instance in 2018 where, you know, he played there at the whole year for Echo Fox. But other than that, there's been these kinds of moments.
Yeah.
And so I would speculate it's another situation like that. Maybe, you know, they're on a 4-game loss streak, I believe, or maybe it's 1 in 5 or 1 in 4 in the last 5.
Yeah.
So a bit of a downward streak after starting the week 1, 2-1. So I assume pressure's building up, expectations are starting to come down a little bit. You know, it's a long summer split, and you're looking down the barrel of losing a bunch of these games. Emotions start to run higher.
Yeah, and so there are two ways to think about it. It's kind of crazy, right? Because you're starting off with a pretty damn good record from the spring split. One way you can go about it is this, okay, we're solidifying this team and we're going to figure out the problems. We have time. Or we have time, we can make changes and figure this out.
I think that's what's weird for me about Dignitas. I'm not exactly sure what the team's end goal is, because it's like, is it just developing talent and like trying to put your best foot forward this year, or do you really think you could have made some noise in playoffs and exactly what they're trying to go for, even going back to the Yusui-Saligo swap?
This is my issue, because Saligo is doing right now a pretty damn good job in academy, but like if we're talking about development, right? Stick with the player for the full year. That's my thing. Unless if something drastic is happening internally, those are the type of things where I was just like, you're not going to learn as fast as you would want to if you're making those swaps.
And to continue the train of speculation, then, that the point you make there, Raz, is exactly why I do think it has to be something outside of the gameplay itself. Yeah. You know, in my mind, because otherwise you would give the team continued time to develop. This was the pleasant surprise of Spring Split, was the Dignitas roster and how much they showed up with how little time they had to gel as a roster of 5. But already now we've seen 2 different substitutions here for Dignitas in summer. It speaks to something going on behind the scenes. Now, all that said, with Dardoch out, I do think we need to talk about the replacement coming in. It's none other than Acadian, a man who's been around the block here when it comes to the LCS, all the way from his TSM days to now here at Dignitas.
Yeah, that's a good thing about Dignitas right now. Much like the teams, like Team Liquid, like C9, when you're making these swaps, you have someone behind them that is actually good. Is LCS ready? Academy's been there before, and watching his games in Academy, I've actually been quite confident. Of course, right now, they're tying a lot. That is possible. They're best of 2s right now in Academy. But he is a person that has veterancy. He's generally a calm person in those moments. If you have losses, a lot of the time, he's going to be the calm person in the room. So it's just one of those situations where at least they're not going to have another added rookie. You still have that added veteranship that can work with Aframu to kind of go through post games.
And I feel like it's a good meta for Acadian too. He's always been a little bit better on the scrappier picks, you know, like his Rengar heydays where he was the first Blood King all the way back on Echo Fox a long time ago. Like, he is someone who I think right now, looking at a lot of the current junglers, should be able to play a lot of them since they're pretty aggressive. Xin, Diana, Rumble, whatever it is.
But do you think he's really that much different a jungler than Dardoch? I've always kind of looked at them in a similar camp when it comes to style of jungler.
Yeah, I think that personally, I would say Acadian's a little bit more of a facilitator, but he's grown to be more of a person that he knows what he wants. So if he does have a matchup that works out really well for him, an Olaf or something to that nature, he's going to call for pressure, much like you would expect for Dardoch. But we don't know. It's one of those things with these changes literally happening mid-week. It's like, I doubt he's played a game with them.
That's a good point, right? This wasn't necessarily, well, we don't know if it was a planned thing coming out of game one. It makes it feel like it's not, right? And so,
it's been planned for months. I would say as well, when you talk about the facilitator role, a lot of the early games for Dardoch felt like they were the ones that, you know, it was around him. It was like, what are you doing level 1? How can we support you? Do you want to do an invade? They're going to invade. Should we all 4-man fight them? It felt like a lot of that stuff was keyed off Dardoch, which does make it feel like gameplay-wise a very big loss, especially in the middle of the week when Acadian's just going to fill in and they probably have to find a new identity.
Yeah, I think the last thing I'd say on this, Raz, is, of course, the matchup that they're making this substitution into. TSM, no slouch of a team.
Yeah.
Right? So this is, you know,
Acadian's revenge.
Right? Well, sure, whatever. I mean more on the record front, right? You got a 17-8 team against a 14-11 team. This is no slouch of an opponent that Acadian has to now walk into with little to no practice.
Exactly, and so that's what's going to make it really tough. And that's why I challenge everyone at home and the coaching staff that are making these decisions to look with a closer eye at his performance and not base it off the W's and L's.
Oh, yeah, hindsight, results-based analysis.
Yep, don't do that.
It can be easy. It can be easy, but that doesn't mean it's good. Anyway, that's all we got from us before we get into this matchup. When we return, it's Flowers and Kobe back on the cast. And we'll see Acadian take to the stage. See you there.
Welcome back, everyone. We are taking over the caster desk now. I am Captain Flowers, that is Kobe, and we are here for the rest of the day. A day that begins with TSM and Dignitas.
For us, it is beginning.
Yes, for us, it's beginning. We were just hanging out backstage watching other games. The day technically had not started yet, but now it has for us.
And you know what? Honestly, we've got another, roster swap coming in here. Honestly, we're at the point in the LCS where you could literally tell me any player is getting benched. And I'm
believable.
Like, you know what? I can see it. Honestly, even role swaps. Oh, did you hear Aframu going back to AD carry? Okay, yeah, sure. Honestly, let's get right into it, though, here. Acadian is in for Dignitas versus TSM. See if he can pull off a big upset for him, because currently TSM are alone in first place after Cloud9's loss. And if they win this game, they will retain sole possession of that first place. If they lose, of course, then they get dropped down to being tied with Cloud9.
And for Dignitas, who are a couple of wins below that pack at the top, hey, grabbing a win against one of those teams in that upper echelon means a lot. Catching up, making sure that you can go toe-to-toe with these guys. So Kalista, Karma, Lee Sin, Nocturne, and Lulu all banned away.
So definitely the high priority on taking the enchanters away still remains, but leaving up either the Viego or the Gwen. I would have to say Power of Evil's Viego was definitely one of the better executed Viegos that we have had in the LCS. And Dignitas now kind of contemplating which of these power picks for mid lane do you want to give over. Akali seems to be one of the most dangerous, but it does mean that now you have the choices there with Gwen being dangled up in front, as well as that Viego, and they actually go for jungle first.
Yeah, they want to prioritize the jungle. They want to have that rumble there for Spica, which means there are still plenty of those powerful picks left open. Gwen is still on the table, has not been banned. Dignitas are allowed to go for that if they want. Instead, they will prioritize the Lucian and Diana here for themselves.
That's what I wanted from Acadian. Immediate lock-in here. Probably going to be Diana jungle. One of the strengths of the pick, of course, is that you can flex it around. Could still be a mid laner for Yusui, but expecting it to be jungle Diana. He's played it in Academy several times, carry champion, wants more of those resources, and as the desk alluded to, Acadian has always been at his best with damage-dealing junglers, with carry-oriented junglers. Meanwhile, on the side of TSM, it is just going to be the Victor locked in there for PoE, one of the goodies, but old but good champions for him. Definitely the classic AP scaling for
the control
TSM.
Yeah,
I would say they're shifting through a lot of other AP champions, but they're pretty much full on AP, okay? If you have Rumble jungle and a Victor already locked in, no more AP should come through. You don't want a full AP top side of the map. It's ridiculous. So all these, hovers over Echo and stuff like that, just throw those out. Locking in the Ezreal for bottom side there for Lost, though, does complement it. And the only thing now that TSM are going to look for is some CC, some structure to the team fight, because you cannot really play Rumble and Victor as your big AP carries without other forms of CC on the team to really set them up and hold down stuff like a Diana.
Yeah, these champions that they have so far on TSM, they're difficult to engage on, but they don't have a lot of engage themselves. So we'll see what that second half looks like, because we're talking about engage. We're talking about Leona here locked in for Dignitas. So I like this pick. Always enjoy seeing this champion. And now the second half of the band start rolling in. Braum will be the first one banned away by Dignitas. I already said how good TSM's 3 champions so far are at counter-engaging and disengaging. Braum is another one that works excellent for those ideas, so they're going to remove him. And what will TSM's ban be? They know that Leona's going support. The other two have flexibility. Tristana banned away.
I like that because the AD threat there still very relevant. If your bottom lane of Tristana and Leona gets through along with Lucian, there's so much early power there, and your AP Diana has a lot of easy routes for the early game. Bottom lane would be extremely volatile there, even with Ezreal being the AD carry on the TSM side. So protecting a little bit there for the side of TSM, and just more engagers and more of those CC options banned out from the support role here for Dignitas. Rakan pairs better with Ezreal than Nautilus, and especially if you're into Leona, can be definitely dangerous.
Yeah, that's one of those things I was thinking about. Leona is one of the picks that in the past has worked against Rakan, but you're banning for the whole team comp instead of just the specific lane matchup.
And ever since multiple tenacity options got moved into runes, the matchup got a lot better for Rakan because if you invest into yellow and green tree tenacities and you just go in with all of this flat tenacity, it allows you the time reducing the stun from Leona's Q to be able to jump right back out, and it's so much less punishing for the Rakan, yet you still get that lightning quick engage option. There's the Viego that we were looking for a little bit earlier, is on the side of Dig here, and so it's going to be the Lucian and Viego solo lanes for them. We're expecting a different AD carry, although they could theoretically put Lucian bottom side. Wouldn't make a lot of sense or get much out of it though, so definitely should be a different Neo champ.
And we have the Nautilus picked up now for TSM. We know that one's heading into the support role, so Nautilus Ezreal down there in the bottom lane. What will our final pick of the draft here for TSM be? Remember, we're still mostly looking for a top laner. Rumble is almost assuredly going to be, or not.
The Huni Rumble!
Catch myself potentially being wrong. All right. Huni Rumble in the top lane. It'll be Svenskeren, or not Svenskeren, excuse me, that was last game. Spica in the jungle with the Xin Zhao this time around.
Honestly, it's fine because you could go through half of the junglers in the LCS right now. And at
they jungled on TSM at one point.
At one point they did. It is going to be the famed Huni Rumble, though. For those who don't know their history, especially for LCS, Huni's Rumble and Gangplank, the two most talked about champions for him throughout his career. Definitely excited to see it in the top lane matchup. They do have a little bit of a swing here at the end for Dig, though, and they did make that swap, and I do like moving the matchup here so that Huni doesn't have a great melee matchup to fight into. Rumble, you want to take advantage of pushing the wave with your Flame Spitter against these melee matchups and have that priority going, but Gnar is a little bit more tricky to deal with. So Dignitas, good little audible there at the end for their 5 pick on red side. This is one of the benefits of red side, and we've had this conversation kind of for the first few weeks here in summer of the LCS, of the difference of the two sides and how red has been so much better than in metas that are less flexible and more figured out. Right now, there are so many options that the value of these counter picks, the value of these flex picks held until 5th position here really have so much more value than in previous metas where blue side just has generically had the extra high win rate because of the first pick. And Dig, good move there. They do, pull off the swap. Now Neo, though, with his hands on the Lucian in that Leona lane, that is one that you want to try and get your early advantages. You want to try and punish Ezreal before first and second item spikes. That's where you can really make the difference in champions felt, because once the tier is actually stacked up and can actually transformed into Muramana, the pain really starts to fall through. So looking to get stuff there on Dignitas towards the bottom side of the map first, probably focus, around setting up some of these dragons. They're going to have to keep in mind that Nautilus and Rumble combination, that is hell if you don't get to the dragon early and you have to run through the jungle against it.
But the nice part is, because the Rumble's in the top lane, we're so used to seeing him in the jungle primarily these days. Remember that if he doesn't have his teleport, if he has to run all the way across the map, he might not even be there, right? There's a significant chance that that may not happen. And the man right here on your screen will have a lot to say about the course of this game, especially when you have a very powerful lane like Lucian and Leona together. If you can set up for a good dive, if you can get ahead, you can really get things rolling.
I'm excited to see this as well, with Acadian coming in one of the most pivotal roles for Dignitas. So much of the Dignitas that we know and love this year has been this, quote-unquote party bus Dignitas from last year as well, where they were built around this synergy that was everybody for the jungle. They started out the year with everybody 5-person defending these jungle invades, and everybody lending so much for playing for jungle for Dardoch, and him being a focal point for the team. Now having swapped out that player, it's going to be one of the moves that can have kind of aftershocks that ripple through the rest of the team.
Okay, by the way, letting you all know that we do have a bit of a delay. There is an issue with one of the mics on stage. Hopefully we can get that resolved here ASAP. We do have our tech people taking care of that. And I can tell you firsthand, the number one thing that I learned from remote LCS Kobe is that I have no idea how the hell any of this technology works. Whenever the stuff broke and we had the engineers hop in there and just be like, oh yes, move the transmogulator next to the bioptic resonation device. And I have no idea what any of this means, dude. I literally can't do it. So big thanks to all the people that can, because the show would not work without them.
It's not as simple as just unplug it and plug it back in.
Man, I wish
we
it
figured
was.
it out. Honestly, that did come up in some of our home checks, though, for working from home, funnily enough. The biggest thing that I learned from remote workflow is that if you can't see your other caster, then audio delays are the biggest hindrance that you could possibly have. So all these teams figuring out the audio issues first here. Before we get right into it. And communication, since we're on the topic of audio, is one of those ripple effect possible changes that this change of a jungler can have. Because you interview pro players from almost any team. Pretty much every team will at least say that their jungler does part of the early game shot calling, if not all of it.
Yeah.
So that is one of the roles that has one of the biggest impacts on especially your early game, because so much is determined by their pathing and working with their laners. So very excited to see how it actually plays out here with Acadian. It looks like they're all smiles still on stage as they wait for it to get figured out.
Yeah, you got to have the good comms, right? You can't have this be like a public match lobby in Valorant where you try to queue up. You got your mic on, you're like, okay, guys, let's get some clean comms. Two guys aren't even talking. Third guy's comm banned. Fourth guy, every time he presses a microphone button, you just hear music in the background. That's not going to work. Not in coordinated play. We got to see everybody on the same page, communicating the important details, clear comms all the time, especially with these roster swaps, man. You said it at the beginning of the day. LCS is currently at a state where, oh my goodness, any sort of roster swap is believable at this point.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, we are. It's definitely kept it interesting for the beginning, and I am curious to see if there's any more twists down the line. I definitely expect more down the line, as this summer is a very long set this time around. 3 round robins fully played out, 27 games of LCS, and every single one a banger.
All right, no more stalling from us. We are back onto Summoner's Rift, and it is time for the teams to take the field. TSM on the blue side, Dignitas on the red. That last swap there, putting the Rumble up there in the top lane, having the Xinjiao in the jungle, and then the response from Dignitas responding with the Gnar. Pro view, by the way, my friends. Remember, if you want to learn how to support like a champion, you can check it out here this game. Our free matchup is showcasing Sword Art versus Aframu there in that bottom lane 2v2. So check that out if that piques your fancy. And hey, if you're out and about and don't want to miss out on this match, an audio-only cast of the games is available through League Day, our official audio-only LCS partner. So be sure to check that out as well, in case you're stuck in a boring work meeting and you can't actually watch, but you'd like to know what's going on anyway.
I made that pitch yesterday too, and it seemed like we had a lot of takers on that one. Another learning from remote workflow for everybody over the last year. Honestly, if you turned into that pro view, though, and you were in there early and you see the flashes being traded, one of the biggest discrepancies here is that Aframu on the Leona has the Hex Flash, whereas Sword Art does not. I guess Hex Flash is allowed to double check. As of right
re-enabled.
Now,
it's re-enabled.
Re-enabled real quick. Got that one fixed up. So that is going to be a bigger deal for the bottom side. You know, as we said from Champ Select with this role swap here, or just Champions lane swap of the Lucian going bottom, Aframu has the options of channeling the Hex Flash from these brush to really set up Lucian. Obviously, they're going to fight over the level 2 first. Aframu, you see him just retaining that brush control that he is so famous for.
And worth pointing out, too, Lost does have the cleanse. Pretty much every AD carry takes this against Leona. Neo still having the heal, so a bit more just direct combat power, particularly to save his support if Aframu gets targeted here as well. So Dignitas are backing away right now with those waves being cleared out just about even, but a slight lead for TSM.
And Sword Art, 100% accuracy for hooks on those minions. I think it was expecting it to take a tiny bit more damage first and die first, but is going to be no damage dealt in the end. You see, Lost was actually doing a very good job in the opening here in targeting Aframu very frequently with his auto attacks, trying to chunk him down and burn through some of these health potions. When you have these melee support setups on bottom side, very critical there. Also, he has not started the tier. Sometimes we have seen that Ezreal start with tier. I'm definitely not a big fan of it because you're looking for your mana transform as your second item power spike so much later anyway. I find that starting with Dorian's Blade gives you a lot more capability of fighting over that control on bottom side in the early stages, and then getting your tier a little bit later doesn't really have an impact because it does stack pretty quickly and the timing lines up anyway as far as when you have enough money to finish that item right after your Divine Sunder.
And back here, you can see the solo lanes are both just sort of not getting into a lot of scrapping early on, mostly just about pushing the waves, getting control here. First, Scuttle Crabs are up and active on the map, so having priority in these lanes will mean a lot for the junglers and being able to secure those. But those junglers are on opposite ends of the map. Spica will be taking the top side crab, bottom side, it's Acadian will be able to have access to that, as Huni has the wave all the way shoved up here in the top lane. He's got his own jungler nearby just in case a gank is coming, but you and I have perfect information. We know that's not happening.
Yeah, and they also have close to perfect information right now as the Xin does sweep the Tri-Brush ward there. This is the exact play out of the matchup that we were talking about in Champ Select, where the Gnar doesn't have to play up into the Rumble like a lot of the melee matchups. You have this default defensive play that you can go with Gnar, spamming out your boomerang, just looking for that CS. All you have to do is get your ward to watch for the early dive on the triple push on the wave. Fake God does that. He does lose out on a significant amount of the CS, though.
Yeah, about 2 waves.
As you saw, Huni doing a very good job on harassing him, playing very up into the wave so that he actually didn't get access for his short auto range. Did you know, by the way, that Gnar's auto attack range for mini form actually has to scale up similar to Tristana's? It starts really, really short, and so early stages, the difference right there can be made up with the deceptively long distance that your Flame Spitter can actually cover. So good positioning by Huni to actually take advantage of some of these early stages and force Fake God to only grab CS with the boomerang, not getting many there with the autos and having to play real safe.
Yes, sir. In a game state like this one where we're not seeing anybody make those big plays, big ganks, trying to get the PvP type of action rolling nice and early, the farm is the name of the game. You can see it is dead even there in the mid and bot positions. In the jungle, it is a slight lead for Acadian. Of course, Diana will be able to farm faster than Xinjiao will in general, but it's Huni's lead up there in the top side that is the most prominent thus far, as they'll just continue those trades back and forth. Again, no junglers even up here, though. They've both gone back, they've reset, they've picked up their first purchases, and they're just going through the next clear.
Yeah, and the jungle clears are very, very interesting with these two champions, actually, and very close, because there is some nuance to your spell usage, whereas honestly, a lot of junglers is kind of, brain off and mash all your buttons. Exactly, yeah. Let's be honest here. A lot of them are just mash all your buttons on the PV camp and then, kite the camp close to the next one and walk over. But with both Xin and Diana, some of their damaging abilities need to be used sometimes on the cooldown for looking for your dash to the next camp. Both the W for Xin, which, by the way, is also your most damaging ability, so it's very critical that you don't mess that up for the dash. And it can take off, a second between, traversing between these camps actually means a lot for your clear time. Yeah. Most time, by the way, in difference between expert junglers and just good junglers is made up within travel time between camps. It's not actually your DPS on the camps. Meanwhile, though, is going to be a startup here on the Dragon as Acadian hits that level 6. So Spica, being only level 5, does have a chance at the steal, but it's a very low one. Yeah. And that is a really sweet pickup there for Dignitas, because remember as well, with the overall champion pool here for their matchups, getting control of bottom side, very important. Jumping on the early Dragon stacking for them, very important. And now that Diana is level 6, man, those duels get so scary with access to her ultimate.
Yeah, and because of the fact that up in the top lane you saw Huni use the equalizer just to get the wave shoved out and get back, they know that even if TSM wants to try to come collapse and punish at this Drake, there's no Rumble equalizer. They don't have that big trump card there for these early fights, so it's pretty easy for Dignitas to guarantee they're going to get that one and get away just fine. Speaking of that top side, you can see the Mercury Treads rush for Fake God, just making sure he can maintain that distance, have a little bit extra magic resistance against the Rumble here as well. Junglers, the second buffs have spawned, so they're already clearing through those here again. Still a very even game state overall between our teams here, Kobe, as Acadian might be looking for Power of Evil. Dashes in, but Power of Evil with a quick flash stays okay.
Yeah, very efficient gank right there. It's burning the flash cooldown on one of the most punishable champs on the map. Bottom side as well.
Vermouth tries to go in, but it immediately fizzles out.
Honestly, should be a little bit more focused towards the spawn of Rift Herald pretty quickly here too. And with the timing on blowing Power of Evil's flash here from Acadian, no extra cooldowns used by Dignitas, this opens them up for a Rift Herald play. And you see already they call Afromu up. So very good coordination here from Dig. I like the setup. Burn mid lane flash first. You have the priority here. Afromu makes the journey. They just allow Neo on bottom side to stay there, catch the wave, so they're not giving too much up. But now you see bottom lane from TSM getting here. Can they finish it first? Bottom lane's almost up to mid.
Oh, well, we got the equalizer summoned up. Rift Herald is taken very low. Acadian's got to stick around to grab the eye, and he's got it, but now he's going to burn if he's not careful. Flashing over the wall, 100 HP. They want to follow. TSM's looking for the first blood here. They got two very viable targets. Acadian will fall, and it's first blood over to TSM.
First blood for the Rift Herald eye here is actually a very good trade for TSM, because when you win that fight off of the first blood, you retain map control. And even though you get pretty comparable gold out of the Rift Herald eye, the experience of being able to push in these waves and get your resets on your terms, Scuttle Crab as well going over to TSM, are very large benefits.
Okay, TSM racking up the money there. Oh, Afromu just using the ulti to stop Power of Evil's back and get 8 seconds more of priority for his own mid laner. Of course, PoE will be able to TP to return, but here's another look at the Rift Herald and the kill.
Yeah, and Acadian already converted his smite, so it's a 900 damage smite. He ensures that he gets it. Walking back in to get the eyeball means that Sword Art gonna get over here, as well as Lost, who can just E right over the wall, and they finish off the first blood. Again, now you look at the minimap, deep vision through the Raptor camp there for TSM, also going to be another side benefit of that little skirmish. Bottom lane was pushed up there by Neo to the turret, but he didn't get any turret plates off on the bottom side of the map in the 4v5 scenario.
Ooh, okay, we got a little bit of a face check here from Huni. Fake God finds some damage onto him, but Huni is quick to respond. Drops the equalizer in a way that it hits most of the waves, so Huni is going to have priority in top lane once more. That is just the nature of being rumbled.
Yeah, doesn't get too much chip damage there on Fake God, but does buy himself the time to recall. This is a cannon wave, so big importance there on pushing that one in. Gives you so much more time to get your reset off and get right back there. I love the pickup too. In pushing that wave and getting his own reset timer, gets the Dark Seal. This is something where I really believe Rumble players need to push their mid game to the limits. And Huni is definitely a guy that wants to do that. So we will see if he can rack up those kills and assists.
Okay, nice extended range there on the audacious charge from Spica. Gets him on top of Neo and forces both summoner spells out of the Dignitas 80 carry as TSM now continue their push here in the bottom lane, looking for some plate money. They've already got the first plate down, should be able to find the second here, and they will just strong-arm Dignitas away from their own turret.
Big denial of experience there, and there's no other choice there for the Dig bottom lane. With both summoners blown on Neo, they have to go for the full reset in order to get back for this dragon. They actually get them canceled.
Okay, Spica's in some trouble. The CC's coming down. The Leona initiation has him locked down here on the bottom side. River Yasui's grabbing the first kill. Acadian looking to find some more damage here, and now it's a double kill for Viego. You can't give him the first one of the boys going all the way to the bank. 2-0 Dignitas.
And that's with the teleport used by TSM Flowers. That is a disaster for TSM.
I believe there was once a great man who said that TP sucked, and that is exactly what we saw here. Huni TP's in just to die. Dignitas get all the kills. Dignitas get the objective, and now they'll have to rotate back trying to defend this tier 1.
Well, I want to compliment Dignitas for their pick, because I really thought for sure Afromu and Neo, they didn't have many choices left, and they were going to go for a reset. They were both chunked to 50% HP, no summoner spells available 40 seconds before Dragon. But Dig, look at this minimap. They make the call. Okay, don't look at the minimap, there's Fog of War. But they make the call not to go for the reset, and Afromu's saying, hey, they think we are not on map anymore. They think they bought themselves a timing window to get river control. Guess what? Afromu makes the call, they stay in there, he goes for the initiation, they immediately jump and 100% to zero their target. So huge change there for Dig, the shot calling on point, and this coordination, as far as being one of the things we were curious about maybe changing, maybe having an effect. on Dig with their roster swap. Seems to be in full effect here. Acadian just cleanly farmed on Diana early on, up to the level 6 point, so definitely according to plan there for him. He is, by the way, there are multiple Diana builds that you can go for.
Okay.
This is one of my favorites for pro play. As you see, he just takes a little chunk there. Shouldn't be anything more. The other one is, of course, the Conqueror style that is with the Rift Maker.
Right.
And so Acadian has kind of split the two here. And he has still gone Conqueror, but he's going the actual Proto Belt into Zhonya's, which I like so much more for pro play because it is
more front-loaded.
Yeah, and it's also more loaded for getting picks and setting up your team. And there's a lot of wombo here where Dignitas are trying to get these AoE setups with Leona, with Diana to pick people off and get the first kill for Viego so they can actually have, resets and kind of snowball their way through some of these fights. So I really like the extra mobility with the Proto Belt build here, and that builds so nicely into the Zhonya's, whereas with the Rift Maker, you always want to follow that up immediately with the Nashers, and this is a solo queue like turbo carry 1v9
1v9,
Diana.
fight all of you, crazy style.
Lifesteal tanking everybody, and So definitely like the option here. It's also the more popular one, especially for LCK style Dianas and even some of the LPL ones.
And you can see here, I also like the Immortal Shield Bow on Viego. Of course, he does have a couple of different options in solo queue environments. This is my favorite item to see him build as his Mythic in pro play. Still giving you the offensive capabilities as well as that shield when he's taken low to guarantee that he gets that ever so important first reset. But the other thing that I'll be keeping my eye on here, we only got about 2 minutes, Kobe, until that third Drake of the game spawns. It will be a Mountain Soul this time around. Dignitas currently has those first 2 already secured for themselves, but the gold is close enough that TSM can challenge in neutral territory if they're feeling it.
And it is a very early one. Because of the early first dragon where Dig just jumped on it, Acadian rushed to that level 6, and they immediately got it on the reset timer. Starting these dragons chaining very early for themselves means this is going to be a shield that comes in.
Oh my goodness, the Zenith Blade goes all the way, and Lost is truly so. The boy will not be going anywhere. Afromoo tries to follow it up a little bit further. They will get the flash out of the support and the kill on the AD carry.
I was a little confused why Lost didn't flash there, but a good use of the Proto Belt by Acadian to get just into range of the ultimate. Maybe he didn't expect the extra range there to catch him with the little bit of the suck in from Diana's ulti. Really good pick there for Dig. Lost still has his flash, but he goes down, and that means it's going to have to be TSM opting to try and trade cross-map with their second Rift Herald.
Okay, second Rift Herald comes out. There goes the charge. That is first turret for TSM, so some much-needed extra gold in their pockets on that one, but it looks like Neo is trying to make it a one-for-one trade here in the bottom lane and will accomplish that goal. Sub 1 minute until the Drake spawns. Fake God's responsibility is to stop this Herald from doing much more damage. It will find the charge under the tier 2, but not much more.
And guess what? If you've got 45 seconds, that's about time to buy a control ward and get on down there if you're trying to reset and get your vision first. Here's another look at it. Okay, so he did use the cleanse early, and then maybe he doesn't think he can get to the outside for it, for the suck in there, so holds on to the flash. Feels like he's going to die anyway, would rather save the summoner for this critical dragon fight. As you say, the soul point is approaching so quickly in this game. If they give this one up to Dig, they're going to have so much control early on. And TSM are running with the Victor, who's needs a little bit more time to finish up his upgrades. At least Leandries is done for PoE there, so hitting level 11 for your rank 2 ultimate and having Leandries can definitely mean a difference in a team fight. They've got a lot of control, again, if they're at the objective first, because Rumble, Nautilus through jungle corridors, Gravity, well from Victor also means that it's very dangerous for opponents to run into you. And TSM doing just that. They start up on their dragon.
Yeah, TSM's just trying to burn it as quickly as possible. Dignitas moving in. Afromoo here at the front. They've decided they want to go for the fight. It's Drake over to TSM, but now the fight's coming down. Equalizer into the middle of everybody. Acadian using the stasis already here at the very start. TSM get in. They get the Drake. They get out. It was clean. Ooh. Fake God's trying to stop that, change this up, but that was just a special delivery straight into their waiting arms. But now Yasui's got the opportunity to pop off. He immediately has to disengage. TSM is on the hunt. Acadian falls back just to try to buy some time for everybody else, but that was TSM's fight all the way.
That was a rogue Gnar play, Flowers. Everybody else was halfway up the river in retreat, and he jumps over the wall. Fake God wanted that flash play, but the DPS isn't close enough, so then he finds himself a little bit in a dangerous spot over the wall, and there's no DPS, and it's bad. It's a punishment there. TSM happy to take that one. They're saying, we take those, boys. Get the extra kill. They get a tower off the back of it as well. And honestly, it's a very good and kind of clear focus from TSM under a lot of pressure here to focus down the dragon. They flash over the back of the wall. They are saying, okay, we're out. But then Fake God, he jumps over the wall here. Maybe the rest of the team actually had started running back down. So they were on the same page. It's just that the gravity field there from PoE made them take a little bit longer route around the outside, and not quite enough respect for the TSM return damage there makes Dignitas pay in a very big way.
Yeah, this game felt Dignitas favored, but now it is right back to dead even. They are no longer the only ones with the Drake. TSM's catching up in the gold as well. Ooh, that was very, very disastrous for Dignitas, and well done by TSM.
Yeah, and I like that we got the replay to show, you know, the rest of Dig were at least moving down in that direction. So it wasn't actually a communication breakdown, it was actually just a spacing issue, and good punishment there from TSM.
Okay, Dignitas have a lot of bodies here in the topside river. Remember, we're only 19 minutes into the game. There is still no Baron alive on the map. The Rift Heralds have also come and gone. So there's not really any neutral objectives left to fight for. Both teams still with the Tier 1 turrets left standing. Both Tier 1 turrets in the bottom lane have been removed. Dignitas is still looking for a chance to make something happen. You already talked about the pick-based style of Leona and Diana and just trying to start the fight off in a way that's not fair, but TSM is playing safe enough, they are warding defensively enough that Dig can't find much.
And now there are 3 kills onto the Viego for a lot of this pick setup here. A lot of the damage will come through. Definitely setting up Yusui in this game. See if they can actually make it work, as bottom tower was already taken and they need to actually have a bit more room to work with. Now TSM, though, sweeping through, clearing out all of this vision around the Baron before spawn here, 20 minutes into the game. Plenty of pick potential on their side, too, especially if they can find their way through these smaller corridors where they get so much more value out of that gravity field, out of that Rumble ultimate.
Yeah.
And again, since it is a solo lane Rumble here for Huni, you know, he's got the 2 stacks with the Sork Shoes and Riftmaker done. Early investment into the healing cutting for a lot of these Conqueror plays, and especially for Viego to be able to cut that down and hinder some of the reset capabilities, some of the pop-off capabilities there for Yusui, for the 3-kill carry leader on Dignitas. Full investment in control wards as well for TSM off of their reset.
And Power of Evil on this Victor will just be more than happy to sit mid lane, clear out the waves. It doesn't matter how many Dignitas players are nearby. As long as he's aware of that, he will be able to play defensively and stop that. Dignitas still continuing to look for opportunities, but again, none are presenting themselves. Just about 1 minute until our next Drake is alive. And Dignitas should have it fresh in their minds how badly the last engage went. TSM had priority. Dignitas weren't able to find the follow-up, so I want to see them approach this next one differently. Or, if they don't think they can, don't approach it at all.
Fair enough. I think they definitely can approach it, and Fake God's got his flash, so I'm hoping that they can just coordinate a little bit better, because I think the idea was sound, and it was just the execution that was a bit lacking for them on the previous round. Now, you, again, even though you have flash, still have to charge up your Gnar Rage Bar, so he's going to have to hold that and be in position for this fight, trying to get some of that rage off of this mid wave preemptively. 25 seconds should be enough time, and he's got a pretty comfortable amount.
Okay, Scryer Plant finds a couple of the Dignitas members that were already in plain sight, so it doesn't accomplish a whole lot there. Shows them where the control wards are at least. Dignitas are in much more even ground compared to bottom river priority this time around. Fake God, the only man in the river right now. You don't have all the TSM players with priority and control over those brushes, with the ability to throw down the gravity field and the equalizer as Dignitas approach. Dignitas want to get their guys in here.
One of the biggest things can be, if Diana gets to go in first, just charge in, use your ultimate to try and pull them against a wall and set up Fake God for the flash play.
Yeah.
He is Mega Gnar right now, so it's timing out, and TSM trying to wait it, but the Dragon's going down so quick.
Yeah, Dignitas know they have to go for the Dragon now because Fake God is about to turn back into Mini Gnar. Gravity well thrown down, Equalizer with a follow-up. Fake God is surely to die, but he flashes over the wall to stay alive. Dignitas are on the retreat, and Huni is on the chase. He finds the Electro Harpoon. Neo's trying to continue to get himself away, as Afromu will now be the target. Fake God isolated from the rest of the team. 4 Dignitas players are safe and sound. Fake God very much not so.
Run, little guy, run! He's going through the jungle as the rest of TSM are turning their sights around Baron. Maybe they actually let him go. Is this going to be the day that Fake God sneaks his way out? Recall completes. Baron is started up, though.
Yeah, Dignitas had a lot of injured health bars. TSM trying to burn through this bear and take a very early powerful objective here. Afromu's gonna get caught. Afromu dies. Dignitas again. The spacing on everybody isn't right. They're not all in the same place. And TSM's got the punish.
Sacrifice there from Afromu. Gives his life to stop the Baron, and they do delay TSM, keeping it off, but a little bit of extra gold given over. On the flip side, though, it was still now Soul Point acquired by Dig. Yeah. The previous one was denied, and TSM did a good job rushing that one down. And you know the difference in shot calling this time. TSM made a clear choice. Hey, this is just Soul Point. Now we're 5 more minutes into the game. Let's actually go for the fight. And you saw the difference in timing of the Gnar Rage Bar versus the health of the Dragon. They made the choice not to all in for the steal and fight before Gnar went back to Mini and just charged in right after, almost getting Fake God, but they couldn't quite keep him within distance. Yep. And Fake God got enough distance there with the flash, was able to get out despite Rumble ultimates, despite Nautilus ultimate there. So good escape from Dig, and they keep it extremely close while setting themselves up for the Soul Point.
Right, but now TSM don't have the luxury of being able to make that same call next time because it gives away the Mountain Soul. So that's the story of these Dragons moving forward. Yasui finding Huni here in the bottom lane. He's got Blade of the Ruined King completed as his second item. He does a ton of damage. And say goodnight to your top laner, TSM Dignitas, with the new man in the mid lane here, 4-0-0 on Viego.
Yes, sir. He does use his flash to do it, and he's very glad to do so. Huni has a stopwatch, but nobody else was close enough that using the stopwatch would actually buy enough time to change the outcome. Yeah. So goes down there, means bottom side is pushed in, and Dignitas now with the power play, looking to finish off the last outer turret.
They've got the 5v4 advantage. The gravity field will not do enough to hold them at bay. So Dignitas get themselves a little bit of a gold lead here back. Again, Huni will be respawning in a couple of seconds, so they can't really push this any further forward to look for much else. They don't even have the time to stick around and clear out that control ward because TSM is ready to move.
I do want to point out the positioning of this control ward too, because it doesn't have the vision coverage that you normally sweep for. So even though they can't kill this control ward you see in Baron, they place their little remnants of vision in a decent spot for themselves that still sees the entrance to the Baron if TSM decide to force anything once again. That also does mean that they give up control of their jungle, and you see TSM setting up for a brush play.
TSM trying to punish any sort of greed, any semblance of greed.
Yeah,
Dignitas.
I was watching Fake God real close because his path, if you choose the wrong path through the jungle flowers, there's a fork in the road.
It's one of those books where it says, do you follow the path? Turn to page 63. Or do you walk back to your tower? Turn to page 4.
Exactly. The left side of the path is dark and filled with fog of war. There's twisting branches. It's the Slytherin path. Meanwhile, the right side path, oh, it's all glowing.
Oh, sugar and rainbows. Everybody loves it.
Right
Great
by my
time.
base. Nice and safe through my own tower. Correct choice there for Fake God. Doesn't walk through the TSM side of the jungle. Meanwhile, though, it is going to revolve around control of mid lane, and Dignitas will slip into the river 50 seconds ahead of the Dragon, clearing this one out. They don't want to, again, give up positioning to this TSM squad that has so many AoE abilities.
Yep, TSM, lots of team fighting power there. If they can layer a couple enemy players on top of one another and just slam them with all of those ultis, it is a bad time. But Dignitas are trying to make sure they don't give TSM the inside track towards the Drake pit here. TSM are making sure that they keep that mid lane shoved up. Fake God hanging back to clear out the wave and deal with that. He has the Gnar bar fully charged up right about now. No summoner spells on Fake God. If we're looking for flashes, there's not the normal flash for Afromu. Yasui's flash is still not available. Fake God's the same. As
there goes the mist. They know he's on the loose.
They know he's around. Afromu's the target, though. They're going in on the support. A lot of damage befalling his health bar. Fake God's now caught out, and he is destroyed. Afromu tries to go right back in, but it is not working out. Acadian with a massive 4-man ulti, but it is not massive enough. Dignitas, again, they are too disjointed, and again, they are punished.
Oh, Flowers, that was so rough to watch for Dig. TSM, they find him out. They suss out the flanker Z behind the red buff here. They chase Yasui off. No more E for Yasui. They even make sure that he has to take the route of the Black Mist that's down around Krugs. You saw Huni cutting off the other side of it. So by process of elimination, they know the Viego, the 4-kill Viego, most of the critical damage and the reset potential of Dig has been pushed out of the fight. And then guess what? Leona is a sitting duck, so they turn right back around onto Afromu and the rest of the team, and they take their spoils of war. It is Dragon, it is Denial of that Soul, it is Baron buff on top, and TSM are celebrating. Here is the turn. This is after they already chased Yasui out. They found out that flank, and on top of being able to catch this Leona that didn't have the DPS behind her, they also then see Fake God try and get off the last few seconds of his Gnar bar there to be able to get off Mega Gnar. Doesn't quite scoop anybody, just throwing dirt at the wall.
Damage dealt in the last team fight, just about 3,000 there for Power of Evil.
You know what I
and
think?
A big old donut, buddy, right there. Yasui could not contribute a single point of damage.
Whoa. That's what everybody's eyes always go to. They start spamming in the chat. A goose egg there for Viego, most fed champ on the team. But again, it's because TSM, with their awareness here and sticking together in their battle lines, setting up, they 5-person sweep into the jungle, chase off the flank, and then just turn right back around on the other side. And those are the small discrepancies in positioning that have to be on point when you're fighting these late game team fights here. If you're a little bit too disjointed and then the other side of your threat for your team gets turned on, it's disastrous. Here's another attempt at a flank.
Okay, also worth noting, everybody on TSM has either Zonias or Stopwatch. The entirety of TSM can go golden at the same time if they want to. There is a lot of aggro drop here, and Dignitas will have to play the fight very correct if they want to have any sort of a chance. The Equalizer's already down. With Afromu and Neo both at half HP, Dignitas has to retreat and heal, and that means Inhibitor goes the way of TSM.
TSM reminding me of a herd here. Safety in numbers, where all these Dignitas hyenas are circling around, picking and pulling, and yet nobody breaks from the line. There's no deserters on TSM.
Nope.
Flowers. Everybody on TSM is holding the line, stick as a group. They can't scare anybody off, and so TSM just face both sides of the flank. They turn around, they get this extra chip damage onto the Leona, they force them back, and they're right back into the base.
And here we go. They can just strong arm this one down too. Goodbye, second inhibitor turret. Second inhibitor about to fall as well, and Dignitas have nothing to say about it. That is 2/3 of their base in shambles, my friend.
Damage has been done. Look, just even go way back, go 4 or 5 minutes back, and look at how much TSM got off just the one play of looking for that flank. Always trying to mark the last member of the opponent team. They denied Soul, they got Baron, and off of that Baron, they got 2 inhibitors. That is just such an insane power play out of the last few minutes, and there you go.
Yeah,
Gold
look at the graph, man. We got this little puddle of red for about 30 minutes or so, 27 minutes or so there, and then it's all just the blue mountains rising up here. So the thing I want to ask you, my friend, you're Dignitas. You're losing control of the game now for the past 5 minutes or so. What's the plan to get back in here? Because it just seems like TSM is a more coherent unit right now.
I never like farming in these situations. You see some of them right now trying to collect some remnants of gold off of the map. I say, since your chances are so low at winning the game, everybody run and look for a brush. Go for a classic Fnatic brush play late game where you get 5 people into one of these unsuspecting brush. Try and jump out, surprise them. You know, you get some snowball kills. Maybe you can reset. But honestly, now all the variables are accounted for because you are pushed into your base. There are super minions running down both lanes. Here is the deep teleport, and it's on Vision.
It's very, very far away. He'll be up here eventually. All right.
Look at your watch. You know, take a snooze here.
He's He's making his way up there.
He's on a ward. He's like, oh, I've been seen.
Making his way downtown. Walking fast, having a blast, and he's homebound, but he's not going anywhere anytime soon. No, sir. That's about all I have to say about that, because the turret will go down before he's able to make it into the fight at all. So TSM's like, all right, cool, we can just push up in here. They're going for the Nautilus ulti onto Diana. Acadian using his stasis to avoid that. Yasui throws out the mist around the left side. Stay together. Lane. And TSM, yeah, the pack stays together. It doesn't matter if the strongest hyena is coming around, prowling around in the savannah. They don't care. All of the TSM Zebras walk away together.
Yes, sir. TSM Zebra gonna get a dub here, it looks like, as they pick up another dragon. Just making sure that the stray win condition comeback possibility is taken off the mat for Dig. Then right back to business as usual. They want to make use of the power play here with the super minions in mid and top. Again, just watch your sides here. Make sure that you don't get anybody isolated, and they should be able to push on forward. It is PoE on his Victor, 3-item power spike, level 16 with a stopwatch.
Oh, that's scary. Oh, but they're going in. Afromu's already found a target here, but they're looking to just burn through TSM. There's the stopwatches, keeping them alive. Speaker's about to fall. They've already lost wall. They've already lost power of evil. Dignitas is just cleaving through everybody. It's Afromu and the go button, keeping Dignitas in the game.
And he barely makes it out alive. Dig pull it out. Huge engage there, Flowers. They get PoE at the backside. Both carries right into the wombo combo from Dig. That's the hard engage that they were looking for, hoping for at the last Dragon Soul fight. They do make it happen here as Afromu goes right onto Ezreal. They slam all three into the wall. Look at Lost health bar. Even though Lost uses both summoner spells and the stopwatch, he dies immediately upon exiting the stopwatch. I bet if we see champion damage done for that fight, the Ezreal is close to 0, maybe a Mystic Shot or an auto got off beforehand, but really great focus there from the veteran on Dignitas, engaging right onto one of the carries and then getting right next to both of them for the follow-up from Fate God and Acadian. Both of them womboing, getting PoE and a loss immediately taken out.
And it's so important they save the inhibitor too. It's still got half HP because remember, as soon as that drops, it's 2 super minions in every lane. You are stuck in the base.
It's such a big difference between 2 and 3 because you get those bonuses on both of the other lanes as well. Definitely very critical there. It's holding on by threads though, Flowers.
Oh yeah.
They're gonna have to pull out another couple of those babies.
We're gonna need a couple more miracles, my friend. We got water into wine, but we're gonna need some bread and some fishes and some walking on water, and we're just gonna need a lot here for Dignitas. The game is still very TSM favored, even though the gold looks very close. The Baron is alive with the final Mountain Drake of the game. It has to be sold for one team or the other here in about 2.5 minutes. TSM will clear the Dignitas vision away from this topside jungle. They will maintain control over the topside river in the Baron pit, but Dignitas with one of their inhibitors respawned and the last one respawning here in a couple of seconds. They're ready to go. They're ready to fight. Sword Art here with the engage onto Afromu, and the equalizer comes down over the wall. Neo, just from that ulti, loses 1/3 HP, but it's Afromu finding the ulti here. Speaker with a disengage of an ulti of his own. Lots of tools spent from both sides. Afromu nearly dead, but no one falls.
And Afromu does not have any way to get back really quickly. TSM aren't rushing towards an objective though, so Dignitas should be able to reset without any real sustained damage here. Yes, the health bar was hit, a couple of cooldowns traded as far as the ultimates. Most of the TSM ones are expended though, so without their ultimates, Rumble, you're looking at that one mainly, Nautilus plus Ezreal plus Xin. They don't want to force the issue here, so Afromu is allowed to reset, regain his health, and Dignitas will be able to push in. Honestly, with TSM's full reset here, Dig should be going right for that Baron. Yep. Get that vision out of there. Vision right now is a very critical objective around this Baron. There they go. Right into the river, should be able to clean it back out and set it up for themselves.
And Yusui on this Viego with the Wit's End completed. Has the stopwatch. He's so strong on this champion. The Baron is about to die. Equalizer comes down. True Shot Barrage is going out. It's Neo picking up the objective, but now Dignitas have to escape or just turn it right back around, but Neo's stuck over the wall. The calling comes out, but the health bars are disappearing. Dignitas again. They're not on the same page, and everybody dies.
In the Baron pit, Dignitas get roasted, Captain. Captain Flowers. They make the call to go for the turn, trying to use that Gnar ulti against the wall, and yet TSM, they lose the Baron, but they win the base. That sucker is wide open, and Neo's gonna have to dodge a lot more than bullets to save this one.
Yep, Neo might have his summoner spells. He might be the only man alive, but it's 1v5, and I don't see it happening. TSM throwing out the equalizer to get him back into the fountain. Sword Art wants to go in with a dredge line. He won't find it, but it won't matter. Neo's alive, but the Nexus turrets are not. The Nexus is singing its farewell song, and TSM retain control of first place.
It's an old meme, Captain Flowers, but it checks out. The Dig Baron,
Dig Baron,
coming back from the grave. Honestly, I think they discussed it and they could not have every member get out. We'll have to look at the replay. I believe they didn't have enough flashes and dashes maybe to get over the wall.
Right.
And that's why they make the call to say, hey, we're going to turn on this one, try and hit our wombo. As TSM are flooding in, they won't expect this big turn from us. And yet, Acadian's nameplate was the first I saw, flash up there as getting 100% to zeroed, and Dig still lose the fight. I don't think he got off his ultimate.
Yeah, that was a very, again, I would love to go back and look at the flashes just like you're talking about, kind of see what the truth of that situation was. But whether or not that final one was determined by that, there were so many moments in this game that to me could have gone differently if Dignitas had everybody a little bit more coordinated. If players were a little bit closer to one another, if they had the timing better, if they had better recognition of how good TSM's composition was at zoning them away with these different area control tools, and it just felt like TSM was able to come out on top because they had a better recognition of the state of the game and what they could do.
Definitely a close one here. Exciting on a couple of these objective fights for both sides. Hi, guys. It's actually so surreal, by the way. Seeing Bjerg still around the studio. We walked on before as they were prepping, and they're giving the pre-game speech, and seeing him dressed up as a coach makes me feel just so old. I remember when he first came over to the LCS and first showed up here for TSM at our old studio in Sentinella, ready to go, and now leading this team to another victory here for TSM in the LCS. As we said, this win gets them sole position in first place. They're no longer tied with Cloud9, and he's there right at the top, coaching the old team. Just as successful as when he used to play mid lane.
And the LCS is crazy right now, man. We got all these swaps around. We got everybody beating everybody. So TSM being able to keep control over that can mean a lot down the road. We don't know what things are going to look like in week 9 when everybody's fighting for those spots. So every single one means a lot, especially, like I said, Dignitas is one of those teams. Their record's only a couple behind everybody in this clump at the top.
TSM, they were kind of citing not making roster changes as being one of the benefits and the synergy that they've been able to build. With a lot of the other top teams making these changes and falling down, TSM now rising to the top. Player of the game, though, is Spica from the jungle. Give this man some credit. I think all split long, and last year especially as well. He's done so much for this team. This was the player that they kind of rebuilt around as they brought in everybody from across the globe, and he's really been performing. Also putting up the fun content as well. I heard the meme video was all his idea. Acted in it, directed in it. He's a triple threat.
He does it all. And now we're going to head on over to the stage where the Tigress is talking with Spica in our Verizon post-game interview.
Thank you so much. Here with Spica. You definitely had an adrenaline-packed game yesterday with the base race. How did this one compare to that?
I mean, this one's definitely a bit slower. I think yesterday we had control pretty much the whole game, and we misplayed. But I think this game we are kind of crawling back from behind. So I think, yeah, I mean, it's definitely a fun one.
Yeah, digging into it a bit more, I mean, at the start of this, there were moments where Dig was really leaning into their comp, having that pick-type style. How did you manage to keep, for instance, the 4-0 Viego at bay in the mid-game?
Well, I mean, I think it's just understanding how their composition works. We have really scaling champs, so we want to just play slow early game and farm, and then I know my carry's just going to carry me. And that's what we did. I think their only win condition was just flanks, and, we play well around how their comps win, and I think that's why we are able to pull out the win.
Speaking of the champs that you brought out in your draft, Huni's Rumble is definitely
Huni's Rumble, that's famous.
Yeah, why did that come out today?
I mean, I guess he was just vibing with it. I mean, like, you know, I think I play Rumble pretty well. When he plays Rumble really well, it's one of his signature champs, so we're always comfortable, you know, playing whatever matchup. And, you know, we just see what champs they have and just decide.
Yeah, I know earlier on in the Summer Split when Dardoch was on the stage, he actually talked about how the jungle Rumbles don't necessarily compare to the laners like Huni. Do you still feel that he kind of has the crown in that regard?
I mean, I think my Rumble's better, but he might say otherwise.
Oh, I see maybe a 1v1 coming
Yep,
on in
definitely.
the future. I got to ask you about the next match. It's C9, TSM versus C9. Such history there. What are your thoughts going into it?
I mean, Cena hasn't been doing well recently, so I think, I mean, I'm definitely very confident. I think we've been playing a lot better from last week, so as long as we play well to our win condition and just play together, I think we could definitely take the win.
Focusing on your play going into these wins, we are seeing some changes in the jungle position. We just saw the Diana. That's not the first time this weekend.
Yeah.
Have you been dabbling at all in bringing out the pick?
Well, I mean, I don't want to leak any, you know, draft secret picks, but I think it's a strong champ, but I think it's a very high risk, high reward champ. As you can see, Diana didn't really get too ahead early game, and then, you know, late game, she just doesn't really do anything, right? So I think definitely depends on the player. If you're really confident, she could definitely be a good pick.
Well, maybe we'll get to see
Well, maybe see it tomorrow.
You got it.
You never know.
Speaker, thanks so
All
much
right,
for stopping by.
thank you very much for having me.
We do have more LCS to come on the other side of this break. It is going to be 100 Thieves facing off against FlyQuest. See y'all there.
It all comes down to this one last dragon fight to call the whole game. Boom! Look at the damage on the Wombo combo. All 5 enemy players down. GG!
Welcome back to the LCS and the State Farm Analyst Desk. TSM coming out on top over Dignitas. Got to be honest, when looking at the schedule for the day, felt like this was going to be the closest of the series and in some ways maybe the most action-packed. Didn't necessarily feel like it played out that way in terms of the level of competitiveness at the end of the day.
Yeah, it was a weird game in that sense because, like, there was a decent amount of kills. I forget what the end score was, but both were around double digits for both teams. You know, it was back and forth. There was 7 dragons. Like, it was actually a game where a number of things were close, but because of how the comps played, I always felt like it was still in TSM's favor.
Let's talk comps.
Yeah, so looking at this draft, there basically becomes a point in the game where it is almost impossible for the team on the right to win, in my opinion. I think that with the scaling you get from Victor, with Huni on the Rumble, and then obviously the Ezreal, which we've already talked about how strong of a pick it is in the current meta, this team comp for TSM is not only something that is incredibly strong in the meta right now. We've talked a lot about TSM and whether we want them to keep experimenting or whether we want them to return to something they're comfortable with. This is an insanely comfortable team composition for them as well. So we know they can execute it.
And your point's backed up by Spica himself, who in the interview just now, talking about Diana, said, okay, it can be a powerful pick in the meta, but it is very, you know, sink or swim, and it has to get ahead. That didn't happen in this game. So you saw what, you know, how hard a position Acadian was put in when he doesn't get off early.
It's not just Diana, too. It's the entire team comp for Dignitas. It's basically for melee when you take the fact that, you know, Gnar wants to be Mega Gnar for team fights. So then their whole thing is about getting wombos. Diana sucks everyone in. You get some AoE down with Leona ult and stuff, and then you have the Gnar following it up. When you get that off, or when you're ahead, you can kind of brute force those, but because Dignitas never effectively got a significant lead, more than like 1,000 or 2, they could never actually just brute force these fights. Things started pretty close between the two teams. Like, Dignitas was able to find a couple kills, but they never snowballed it into a substantial gold lead.
And it also felt like whenever Dig, for the most part, except for that one team fight that we'll probably see later on in the top side, whenever Dig did try to go for these plays, it would be really difficult for them because, you know, Rumble would come in and separate the team, or you have the Mega Gnar coming in.
Don't do it!
You know, he's thinking about it. He sees that Gnarl in his head. You know he does. And the rest of the team has already been separated off, so it just doesn't end up happening.
And a lot of these fights are going to look pretty tragic on the Dignitas side when their engage isn't super clean. But to be fair, that's what TSM's comp wants to do. It wants to punish you for not having clean engages. You drop the gravity field behind, you drop the equalizer on top. You have all these zoning tools. So when it's not super clean, they die. When it is super clean, this is what you want. And so it's a little unfortunate that the one time Dignitas pulled it off was like 30 minutes in the game against a Baron outside their inhibitor turret. But hey, you see the idea.
Yeah, and I mean, this is kind of where you can see the team composition work, but at the same time, we already talked about it just because of the scaling. Because Victor can go in and just lay so much damage. Neo is already separated off this fight anyway. Like, even after that top inhibitor fight, I was like, TSM still have this.
Yeah, oh, absolutely, absolutely. And so again, I think it always comes back to composition, but not just composition. It's the players piloting those specific champions. And you called out the Huni Rumble. I mean, this man's on another level when it comes to Rumble. This was his 69th game on the champion across all 3 of the leagues that he has played in. He's 51 wins, 18 losses. It's just absurd numbers when it comes to a win rate, but also the statistics within the game too, right? Tell you that he is actually applying that kind of pressure that really puts people on the back foot.
I mean, you look at that one replay. It was one of the Dragon fights where he's like flashing forward and just with his Rumble Q on, just burning everyone down. He's such an insane Rumble. Spica still said, you know, he doesn't want to believe he's the best Rumble on the team.
I want to see the Rumble 1v1. Let's go. I would put my money on Huni.
I would 100% put my money on Huni. I think that's the problem, is who's putting their money on.
Are they laning or are they jungling?
I think I put my money on Huni in either situation, to be honest, because when they finally meet, at the end of the day, it's going to be the person who's got the better Rumble mechanics and understanding of the, you know, the generation, the heat generation, things like that. Acadian, tough spot to be in, I think, right? Because that's what we came into the matchup talking about, was the Dardoch sub out and Acadian in. I don't necessarily feel like he was given the fairest shake here in game 1 of the summer split for him to really evaluate how well he played and whether or not this substitution is a good one.
Yeah, it's a situation where obviously midweek substitution, you're not going to have a ton of practice. Diana has been played a bunch more in Academy, and we're starting to just see it emerge. But, you know, this is pretty much a comfort champion for Acadian. Picked a pretty simple comp that, like, if you get to go in and kill them, you win. It's not quite CLG face roll easy, but it is at least like a, you know, pretty much a dive composition. And they fell behind, couldn't get their leads. And to be honest, TSM tied for number 1 now in the standings. It would have been a tough battle no matter what.
Yeah, I feel bad because you obviously can't pin this loss on Acadian, right? But in a lot of the losses, even when Dardoch was out here too, you know, some of these wins for Dig were coming off of this insane team fighting that they seem to have as a group. Like, they just all seem to mesh well with that team fighting. And this is not Yusui's fault either, but since Saligo was subbed out, they haven't had that same team fighting prowess. And now with Acadian joining, they still didn't really have it, especially in a composition that could be easily punished by TSM when everything isn't lining up.
Yeah, Dignitas still on the struggle bus after 2 changes very recently. Jury's still out on who will be hitting the stage tomorrow, but you at home already know that this summer we're bringing back MasterCard card on file. During the 2021 Summer Split, use your MasterCard to make a purchase from the in-client store and save your card on file to be entered for a chance to win a trip to a League of Legends event or a set of this summer's Player of the Week statues and MasterCard prepaid card.
Take the first one.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Take
what
me to
would
Worlds.
you take? I mean, I guess
do I get to go to Worlds, like, for free?
Well, do you have a MasterCard?
I don't.
Have you? Well, then no, you do not get to go to Worlds for free, Emily. That was a very easy answer. Follow the instructions. All right, from here, we're heading to a break. When we come back, it's 100 Thieves versus FlyQuest. We'll see you there. Go get a MasterCard. Buy something
apparently
in the
I do.
Save it on
I'm
file.
not going to Worlds.
Change of range.